My name is Lauren. I'm 30 years old. I'm an architect, and I'm a single mother to my 7-year-old son. Leo. My phone lit up at 11:51 p.m. It was a text from my mother. Susan. Just one sentence, we've agreed. You're no longer part of the family. I just stared at the screen. I wasn't crying. I didn't feel sad. I just felt cold. The text message just sat there, glowing in my dark Boston apartment. And then, seconds later, a second notification popped up. My brother, Ryan, had hearted the message. That was it. The betrayal was instant. It was absolute. Before we dive in, make sure to like and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, have you ever been the one who gives everything but gets treated like nothing? I didn't cry. I didn't text back why I just sat there. The shock wasn't hot. It was cold. It was a strange, sharp clarity. I looked at the picture of my son, Leo, sleeping peacefully in the next room. He was the only thing that mattered. Then I stood up, walked over to my desk, and opened my laptop. The glow of the screen lit up my face. I had a spreadsheet I'd managed for years. A private file. It was titled, simply, Family Support. I opened it. Line 1. The family phone plan. 5 lines. All under my name. On my account. I clicked the link to the provider's website, navigated through the menus, and hit the button. Cancel. Line 2. The auto and home insurance policy for my parents' historic brownstone. The one they were so proud of. Paid quarterly. From my bank account. I found the policy number. Cancel. Line 3. The monthly $2,000 transfer to my mother's household account. The one she called Lauren's contribution. I logged into my bank. I stopped the auto payment. Cancel. Line 4. The quarterly payment for my brother Ryan's car. The car he got for his big promotion at the bank. Cancel. I looked at the clock. It was 12:03 a.m. It took me 12 minutes to dismantle the life they thought they had built. You're probably wondering why. Why was I paying for all of it? It's simple. My parents, David and Susan, were obsessed with their image in our old Boston neighborhood. They had the name, the house, the reputation, but underneath it all, their finances were a house of cards. For the last 10 years, I hadn't just been their daughter. I had been their silent investor. I was the responsible one, the architect with the stable job, the one who quietly fixed their mistakes. I was the foundation holding the entire thing up, and they had just texted to tell me they were no longer part of luck. Me? They thought they were cutting me off. They had no idea. They had just cut the lines to their own life support. I want to be clear. This wasn't just me helping out with groceries. This was systemic. This was survival. Theirs, not mine. A few years ago, I got a frantic call from my father. David, the bank was foreclosing on the brownstone. They were just not paying their property taxes. They were $8,000 in the red. They were too proud to ask my brother, Ryan, who worked in finance. So I paid it. All of it. I just wired the money. I saved their precious home. I got a text that just said thanks. And my brother, Ryan, he went to a prestigious private college. I paid his tuition. Year after year. They saw it as my duty as the successful one. They didn't see it as a gift. They saw it as what I owed them for. I don't know. For existing, I had spent my entire adult life making sure they never hit bottom. I had given them my money and my time. But what I was about to find out was that they had already stolen my future. The next morning, the fallout began. My phone rang at 8 a.m. It was Ryan. I picked it up. I didn't say anything. Lauren, what did you do? He sounded furious. The phones are off. Dad can't get his work emails. This is insane. You're overreacting. Turn them back on. I just said, it's done. Ryan? And I hung up the phone. An hour later, a text from my mother. Susan. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't, are you okay? It was pure. Distilled entitlement? You have created an absolute mess. It read, "Your father and I need you to fix this immediately. This is not how we raised you." I stared at that line. This is not how we raised you. They were right. They had raised me to be silent. They had raised me to pay and to endure. They had not raised me to have boundaries. And then, the final straw. A notification from Facebook. My mother had posted something publicly. It was a vague, passive-aggressive status update. It's a sad day when children forget the people who gave them everything. I looked at that post. I thought about the $8,000. I thought about the tuition. I thought about the monthly $2,000 transfers. And just like that, any little piece of guilt I had, any flicker of doubt, it was gone. It was just, era said, replaced by a cold, hard, and perfectly quiet resolve. They had no idea what they had just started. That Facebook post. It was the moment everything snapped into focus. The last little bit of guilt I was holding on to. The fear that maybe I was the bad guy. It just evaporated. That public performance wasn't for her friends. It was to control me. To shame me back into line. I wasn't their daughter. I was their bank. And I was closing my account. I picked up my phone and called Megan. Megan and I went to college together. We survived finals and bad breakups. Now, she was one of the sharpest family law attorneys in Boston. I sat in her office. The smell of coffee and old books in the air. She just listened. She didn't interrupt. I laid it all out. The text, the spreadsheet, the $8,000 for the property taxes, the endless tuition payments. I don't want to destroy them. Megan, I said, my voice quiet. I want to be repaid. I want a formal notice. I want them to see the numbers. Megan nodded slowly. Her expression, unreadable. She turned to her computer, typed for a few minutes, and then printed a single page. She slid it across the desk. A retainer. This will just get the ball rolling, she said. I'll draft the formal repayment notice. But, Lauren, once we send this, it's real. I looked at the pen. My hand was hovering over the paper. And suddenly, this wave of sickness rolled over me. It was a lifetime of guilt. It was my mother's voice in my head. This is not how we raised you. My hand was shaking. They're still my family, I whispered. And in that moment, sitting in that quiet office, I finally understood. I saw the cage I had been in. It's called the family loyalty trap. It's that invisible prison that narcissistic families build around the ones they use the most. It's not built on love. It's built on guilt. It's built on the idea that just because you share blood, you owe them your silence. You owe them your compliance. They can treat you like nothing. But you owe them everything. And I realized loyalty is a two-way street. It has to be. And my family had been driving the wrong way for 30 years. This wasn't loyalty. It was a con. My hand stopped shaking. I picked up the pen. The cheap plastic, suddenly feeling heavy and real. Like a key, I signed my name. Do it. Megan, I said, my voice clear and cold. Find out exactly what I'm owed. A week went by. The silence from my family was deafening. But it was nothing compared to the storm that was coming. My phone rang. It was Megan. Her tone wasn't the warm, supportive friend voice anymore. It was the lawyer voice. It was cold. Lauren, I did the asset search you asked for, she said, her voice flat. It's worse than we thought. My stomach tightened. What do you mean? The repayment? No. Megan said, I pulled your inheritance records. The trust your grandmother left you. I was confused. What about them? I thought that was all handled. There was a pause. I heard her rustling papers. There was a $40,000 withdrawal from your trust 3 years ago. I'm looking at the document right now. I've seen your signature on the retainer you signed in my office. Lauren. She took a breath. This one isn't yours. My blood didn't just run cold. It felt like it evaporated. $40,000. I couldn't breathe. My mind flashed back 3 years. My father, David, sitting at our kitchen table. He was talking about a smart investment, some rental properties in a neighboring state. He said he would handle all the paperwork to move some money around. I was busy with a new project at work. Busy with Leo. I trusted him. I didn't just trust him. He hadn't just asked for money. He had forged my name. He had stolen my inheritance. Megan, I whispered, my voice shaking. What? What did he do with it? He bought the rental properties. Lauren, she said, and her voice was getting colder. Angrier. 3 of them. He used your stolen money as the down payment. And then, he put all 3 properties in your name. I felt dizzy. I had to sit down. What? Why? Why would he put them in my name? To hide them, Megan said, the words hitting me like slaps. To keep them off his own books. He was using your identity as a shield. He was committing fraud. And he was using his own daughter as the cover story. I was about to say something, but she kept going. And Lauren, who is Kyle? Does that name mean anything to you? My mind went completely blank. Kyle, yes. He's the maintenance man. For my building. I fixed my sink last month. Why? The silence on the other end of the line lasted for a long, terrible second. Because, Lauren, Megan said, according to these documents, Kyle is listed as the official property manager for all 3 of your fraudulent rental properties. My intercom buzzed. The sound sharp and violent in my quiet apartment. I froze. I hadn't seen or spoken to any of them in 2 weeks. My heart hammered against my ribs. I walked to the panel, my hands shaking. It was my mother. Susan. I pressed the button. What do you want? Her voice, even through the tinny speaker, was wrong. The arrogance. The sharp entitlement. It was gone. It was replaced by a thin, Rede panits. Lauren. Please, let me up. I need to talk to you. I buzzed her in. I stood by my door, my arms crossed, and waited. I heard her footsteps on the stairs, fast and uneven. She didn't knock. She just burst in. And I was taken aback. The perfectly put-together woman who posted on Facebook was gone. Her eyes were red and swollen. Her hair was a mess. She looked. Desperate. Lauren, she said, her voice breaking. You have to stop this. You have to call your lawyer. Please. I just stared at her, feeling nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just a cold. Flat, calm. Stop what? Susan. This investigation. She choked out. Your father. They're talking about fraud. Lauren. They're talking about prison. You have to tell them it's a misunderstanding. You're ruining us. You're ruining Ryan. His bank is reviewing his position. I didn't move. I didn't do this. I said. My voice as cold and hard as the new deadbolt on my door. He did this. He forged my name. He was protecting the family, she shrieked, the old anger flaring up. It was a bad investment. It was to protect us. You have to call Megan. You have to tell her you gave him permission. Tell her you signed the paper. I looked at her. Really looked at her. The mask was completely gone. This was who she was. You want me to lie for you? I stated. You want me to commit a felony to cover up his felony? After you disowned me. She saw the look on my face. She saw she was losing. So she played her final, the card, the one she had held over me my entire life. Think of Leo, she whispered, her voice suddenly venomous. Do you really want your son to know his grandfather is a criminal? Do you want him to grow up visiting his grandfather in a cell? What will that do to him? You have to stop this. For Leo. There it was. The threat I had been waiting for, using my own son as a shield. I felt the last bit of fear I had for her. The last flicker of daughterly obligation turned to ash. I'll tell Leo the truth, I said, my voice quiet but dangerous. It's the one thing you and David never gave me. I walked to my desk and picked up a document Megan had drafted. I held it out to her. This is a formal offer. You and Dad will sign over all 3 of those fraudulent rental properties to a secure trust for Leo. In return, I will ask the district attorney not to add conspiracy to commit fraud to your name. Susan, you have 24 hours to decide. Her face didn't just fall. It shattered. The power had flipped. It was total. It was absolute. Goodbye. Susan, I said, and I closed the door, leaving her standing alone in my hallway. The epilogue was fast. It was brutal. My father, David, faced with undeniable evidence of forgery, took up la deal. He was sentenced to 2 years in a low-security federal prison. My mother, Susan, in exchange for her full cooperation against my father, and because I had her on tape for extortion, received 5 years of probation and a fine that wiped out the last of their assets. The 3 fraudulent rental properties were signed over, clean and clear, into a secure trust for my son, Leo. The historic brownstone I had saved from foreclosure with that $8,000 payment, it was sold at auction to pay their legal fees and penalties. It was over. The entire empire they had built on image, and my money was gone. I was sitting on my couch, watching Leo build a city out of blocks, when my phone buzzed with one last text. It was from my brother, Ryan. I hadn't heard from him since the 8 a.m. phone call. My hand was steady when I opened it. I hope you're happy. It read, "You destroyed our family over money." I read the text once, then twice. You destroyed our family. Not Dad's crimes. Destroyed our family. Not Mom's lies destroyed our family. You? I was still the problem. The one who spoke the truth was the one who broke the world. I looked at Ryan's text, and I felt nothing. The old, desperate need for his approval. The hope that one day he would finally see me. It was just gone. We're taught that blood is thicker than water. It's the oldest excuse in the book. It's the line they use to keep you in the cage. But as I looked at that text, I realized the truth. Sometimes, blood is just the cage. It's the obligation that holds you hostage. I didn't destroy my family. I just stopped being the person they could destroy. I finally understood that you have to be willing to orphan yourself from a toxic legacy. You have to be willing to cut the diseased root so you can finally grow. I set my phone down. I never replied. I picked up my laptop and opened that old spreadsheet. Family support. I looked at the long list of payments. The tuition. The insurance. The $2,000 monthly transfers. I looked at the total at the bottom. A number so large it made me feel sick. And then I clicked, and I hit delete. I watched the file vanish. It wasn't revenge. It was freedom. The next morning, I woke up. It was a Saturday. The sun was streaming into my small Boston apartment, lighting up the dust motes, dancing in the air. My son, Leo, padded into the kitchen, his hair a mess, rubbing his eyes. "Mommy," he yawned. "Can we make pancakes?" I looked at him, my 7-year-old son, and my heart felt so full it ached. I went to the fridge and pulled out the eggs and the milk. "We absolutely can," I said. He grinned, his gap tooth. Beautiful smile. "With chocolate chips. Always," I said. I mixed the batter, and he chattered on about a dream he had, and the kitchen filled with the smell of coffee and the sound of his laughter. And for the first time in my entire life, my world felt simple. It felt safe. It felt clean. It wasn't built on secrets. It wasn't built on fear. It was mine. I learned that protecting your own peace and the peace of your child is always more important than keeping a toxic family intact. But I have to ask, would you have been able to close that door? And if you think my mother's lies were bad, wait until you hear what my father's maintenance man, Kyle, did next.